Good afternoon or good morning. Mhm. Imagine a child who grows up in a household where conflict is handed down through silence. There's no yelling, and there's also no repair. There's just withdrawal. That child doesn't consciously decide that conflict is dangerous. Their nervous systems learn it. Years later, when that same person is in a workplace or a marriage or a community, when tensions arise, their body tightens. They go quiet. They disappear. No one planned this. No one is a villain. That pattern simply moved from inside the body to the relationship to the group. What I'm describing is a nested system. Patterns don't live in one place. They live inside of us, between us, and among us. And each level trains and maintains the others. When we don't understand this, we reach for simpler stories. We look for villains. We assume someone is in control, or we assume that we're powerless. These stories can feel regulating. They are also untrue, and they also keep us stuck. Before I go further, I want to ground this in something very concrete. In developmental biology, researchers like Michael Levin are studying a basic question: what allows a living system to stay healthy over time? What his work shows is this: biological well-being is not maintained by any single part being in charge. It's maintained through coherence across levels, from cell to tissue to organs to organism. And health emerges when signals are allowed to travel. Parts communicate honestly about what they need, and the system can coordinate action without silencing information. When communication breaks down, when signals are ignored, overridden, or distorted, that's when pathology appears. And this is not a metaphor. This is an observable property of living systems. And what I suggest is what Levin's work shows for physical well-being, the same structures apply to relational, cultural, and societal well-being. The domains are different. The structures are the same. My name is Jennifer Rivlin. I hold a doctorate in industrial and organizational psychology. For decades, my work has been focused on how human beings relate inside of systems, especially under conflict, in workplaces, groups, and communities. I've studied this formally, and I've lived it practically. So from this perspective, human culture is nested. We have an internal culture, how we relate to ourselves, a pairwise culture, how we relate one-on-one to others, family and small group cultures, community and organizational cultures, and a global culture. So from this perspective, there's no single cause. What we see instead are patterns repeating across scale. And what determines well-being at every level is the same thing: whether a system is coherent or incoherent. So let me be precise. Coherence is not the absence of conflict. Coherence is not the absence of conflict. Coherence is not the absence of conflict. Coherence is the capability of a system to allow signals to register, to communicate honestly across its parts, and to coordinate action without chronic suppression or distortion. Inside a person, coherence means that mental, emotional, physical, relational, and spiritual signals are allowed to matter. So no part is routinely exiled or overridden. That means that needs can be named honestly, even when they can't all be met. And action reflects the well-being of the whole, not the domination of one part. And then incoherence arises when signals are silenced, parts are split off, alignment is forced rather than negotiated. I want to take a moment and differentiate coherence from resilience because this was an important part of my own development and my understanding of what I'm bringing here. A system can be resilient, in other words, be able to maintain its structure, and still incoherent. People, families, organizations, and even nations can function under enormous stress while suppressing truth, fragmenting internally, and exporting harm outward or externalizing. So coherence goes deeper than resilience. It's about the integrity of the information, relationship, and action exchange over time. And that brings us to the most compassionate story and why this framework allows us to go into the most compassionate story and adopt a framework of the innocence responsibility paradox. It's a paradox that we usually avoid, and this is it. We are innocent in the moment because we act from conditioning that we did not fully choose. And we are responsible over time because patterns only change when their consequences are faced and integrated. So this does not deny real harm happens. Harm is real. Accountability, legal, relational, karmic matters. And because that's how systems learn. And to summarize, accountability without compassion becomes cruelty, and compassion without accountability becomes collusion or enabling. And coherence requires both accountability and compassion. From this perspective, leadership changes. Leadership is no longer control. It's not charisma or influence. It's not stated values that collapse under pressure, certainly. Leadership is the capacity to notice what patterns are being stabilized, that are being stood for, communicated, walked in, emanated from your ways of being, and then protect the flow of honest signals inside of yourself, in your pairwise relationships, in your teams, in your organization, in your community, and intervene at the right level with skill. Inside oneself, between people, within systems. If there's an invitation, here it is. Start noticing where coherence is breaking down and also where it may be quietly restored. Also notice where it quietly may be being restored in your own life. Start noticing where coherence is breaking down and where it's quietly being restored in your own life, not globally, locally. That's where responsibility and power actually live.